Hey, what's up, you guys? It's me again. I'm sitting in my new apartment in Rochester, New York, in the neighborhood called Charlotte. About a stone's throw, literally. I can walk to it in 5 minutes from Lake Ontario. I rode the bus here Wednesday night, Thursday morning at like midnight. It was late, so it showed up at about 20 after 1. And then got to Rochester at like 3:10 in the morning and had to sit around downtown till 4:30 when their transportation center opened, and then wait around in there till 6 in the morning till the bus way up here, 8.3 miles away from the center of downtown, shows up. And then I rode the bus up here and sat around in the courtyard on a bench in a gazebo and fell asleep for a while. And then at 9 a.m. I filled out like 30.5 billion pieces of paperwork and got my keys. So I'm in my apartment. There's nothing else in here besides me, but I'm here. And it's pretty nice. There's a lot of potential. I gonna go to Target today and get some curtains and shit. So I'm pretty stoked about all that. But even more interesting than that was Monday morning of this week. I was down right about near where I'd been camping in my tent, cruising on the railroad tracks, just taking a walk. And there was a lot of track work going on up ahead of me, and I wanted to get closer so that I could see what was going on without, them being like, hey, what are you doing there? So I cut off the tracks down into the weeds, into this area where there used to be a line of track that they ripped up, and now it's just all gravel. And normally this area is flooded, it's all wet. There's all kinds of tall grass and reeds growing out of there. And I was walking along and I saw a bone, and it was all gnawed on both ends where the joints are, and I just thought, whatever, coyotes had deer for lunch. And then I saw another one. Then I cruised a little further, and there was a human skull. Its jaw was like detached and like a foot away, but all the teeth were still intact. And it's apparently decomposed for quite a while because there was no skin hanging off it or any kind of putrefaction. It was just the bones. And so I walked back up to the tracks and called the cops. And the 911 operator, I tried to give her like really direct directions, but she got off the phone with me, and then a guy from 911 called me back like 20 minutes later, and then half an hour later I started seeing a cop on this bridge about 100 yards away that crosses over the tracks, and he's driving back and forth, and then he finally stopped on the bridge and put on his flashing lights, and I thought I heard him talking, so I started walking towards him, and he was like, no, stay right there. And then about another half an hour later, that cop car, another cop car, and a cop van were all down on the tracks, and I showed them where it was. And they were, talking about putting yellow tape up to keep people away from the scene, and whose jurisdiction is this? And then they called in their sergeant. For like the next 2 hours, it was the whose jurisdiction is this dance back and forth, and a town of Geddes cop showed up, and then finally they decided it was the job for the Onondaga County Sheriff's Department. And meanwhile, the rail workers had come down to where we were, and they were all annoyed. In order to get to where the bones actually were, it was better to go back out onto the street, drive down about 6 blocks, and enter the tracks from the exact opposite side, so they wouldn't have to cross back and forth on the tracks. So they all did that, and I stayed with one sheriff's detective, and he took my statement and gave me a ride. But yeah, pretty crazy shit. Especially when you consider probably about a week or 10 days before that, at Wegmans, the awesome 24-hour grocery store that I always talk about, of which there are 7 locations in the immediate area. Some roofers were repairing the roof, and in a dumpster they found a human skull. And then, probably Tuesday or Wednesday night, there was another body discovered in Syracuse. So it looks like I got out just in time. But yeah, who knows? Maybe they'll start finding skulls and shit here in Rochester. But I just thought I should let you guys know I got my apartment, and the world is crazy. There are human skulls on the railroad tracks.